All right. Well, hey, everybody. I'm Brian with the Brian Riley team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm excited to be here with Jason Boni, the owner, founder from Guardian Home Inspections. Jason, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing? Thanks
Good.
for having me, Brian.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I know we were talking a little bit before we started the recording here. I think it's really good to, pass along some education to our clients. I know you've helped us a ton. You've helped a lot of our clients a lot of different times and in a lot of different ways over the past, 2 or 3 years. We've worked together a lot, so I'm glad we're finally getting a chance to do something like this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely appreciate all the business and referrals we've gotten from you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're a busy guy.
Yeah, well, we're both busy. I'm glad we have an opportunity to sit down and catch up like we were just doing a minute ago and talk about some things. So I got a couple of questions for you. Hopefully they'll be good questions. We'll see where the conversation goes here, and I think we'll pick up some good tidbits for some good nuggets we can pass along to the clients. So you ready to jump into a couple questions?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. I'm going to start off. Yeah, you work primarily with buyers, obviously, but I want to start off and go the other direction. Thinking about sellers or seller clients, what's the one thing that every seller should know before they even list their house for sale when it comes to, obviously home inspections or home maintenance, that kind of stuff?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think pre-listing inspections are becoming more and more popular. I think a lot of folks don't realize that there are some issues, usually some issues with their home that they're most likely not aware of. And then, sometimes it's just related to when the house is built. It may not be something due to neglect or lack of maintenance. I just think a lot of times the homes we inspect that are older, like a pre-listing, you'll find things that just maybe aren't up to modern standards. Like, for example, like GFCI, electrical outlets, things like that, fire separation in the garage. Like most of the homes we do, we'll find that they lack GFCI protection, or they won't have maybe like a fire rated door in the garage. It's very, very common to see that. But no, I think that with pre-listing is great because it's going to eliminate any headaches in the future, any surprises. I think too, like whenever you have a pre-list, or say for example you didn't have a pre-listing inspection, you just listed the home. The inspector comes along, discovers some issues, maybe something serious, and then the house is no longer under contract. I think maybe as an agent and as a buyer, as you're searching for homes, you're going to see that on the MLS where the history shows it as, active and then under contract and then active again. I guess that's how it's labeled. So I think that's a red flag.
Back on market.
Yeah, and I think sometimes buyers may see that and it kind of makes them hesitant. So I think it avoids that situation. I know a lot of sellers are afraid to do that because they feel like they're going to have to list it on their disclosure, if there's any problems found, but they're going to be found anyway, most likely. So why not know ahead of time? You know what I mean? And really, I guess you don't have to share your report. Well, I'm not sure how that works law-wise, having to disclose certain things, but at least they have the opportunity to shop around for quotes. They're not under, this time constraint where they have to get all this information back to the buyers quickly. You can work at your leisure. You can find fair, honest quotes. You can get the work done, and then you can feel more confident when you list your house. I think everybody should do them. I think they're great. And then some people are okay. Some buyers are okay with not getting another inspection because of that. Like I know Guardian, like we'll go out if we do the pre-listing and a buyer comes along, we'd be happy to go out and just point the things out that we had seen, or if the seller repairs items and just lets us know, we can come back out, or they can send us photos and we can update the report. And that way they can have that report just sitting there on the table, although that's not happening nowadays, but they could have that inspection report sitting there, make copies for potential buyers to take home with them. So it's going to be something that they're going to have and feel more comfortable with the house, knowing that it's already been pre-inspected. They know what the problems are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So time constraint, it eliminates the time constraints. It gives the sellers a better idea of come up on the buyer's inspection. You're right, because older houses especially, but even newer ones. Hopefully not brand new, but even houses that
Yeah.
would be considered somewhat newer, we still see GFIs and
Yeah.
like that to come up on almost every report.
Yeah.
My concern is, what would happen if the buyer's home inspection didn't find anything at all? Then what would they ask for? Because they're always going to ask for something.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
You
It's
don't
a
see
good
too
question.
many of those.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like buyers are shopping. Like when we're doing the inspection, they'll point out things that not really even related to home inspection, but they feel like they want to get their money's worth. So that's why maybe, as a home inspector and an agent, like a lot of times you guys aren't there while we're doing the home inspection. So all of our clients are really different. Like some people are extremely anal about things. Some people are just happy they got approved to buy a home.
Right.
So like you'll see inspection reports. Sometimes maybe you feel like it seems like he's being a little picky there, but sometimes it's just easier for us. That's why like in our reports, we'll prioritize things. So sometimes we have a category called improve. So most of that is for kind of buyers that are very particular, that maybe want us to mention loose carpeting or a torn window screen, something that's minor, but to them in their mind, that's huge.
Sure.
So it's not really part of our inspection because we're mostly safety and functionality, but just to get them off our back, we'll kind of list that as an improvement. And then you can still ask for it that way, but it's not really what the inspection's intended for.
Right.
Yeah. And then some people, like I said, they're just, as long as there's nothing major, they're happy. They're happy just to be buying a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. We like those clients as the agents on our side. It makes
those are the best. Those are the best.
Like you said, the inspections, the point is for safety and major repair items. We don't want any of our clients to move into a house and then find out that they have, whatever it may be. It may only be $1,000, but even worse, it could be $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 worth of stuff. We don't want to get that call, 3 or 6 months or even a year later, if it's something that could have been avoided. So, but that makes sense. The seller doesn't want to find out about that after they already have the house under contract and they've started packing and they've got plans for their next house.
Right.
So you're right. It makes sense.
Just everything goes much smoother. It doesn't allow there to be a wrench thrown into the process. But a lot of people just figure they just keep their head in the sand. They don't want to find out until they absolutely have to. And sometimes people don't get inspected. I don't know what percentage of buyers have you had that have not had a home inspection.
It's pretty low nowadays. I mean, It's maybe, and it depends. I mean, if you know that you're looking at like an investment property or something that's going to need extensive work anyways, the client's an investor or contractor, that's a little bit of a different story. But as far as owner occupants, people that are buying a house to live in and not home inspection, I mean, it's maybe like 5%. If
that's
that,
good.
And a lot of the times, even those are like if it's a condo where the association covers a lot of things, I still recommend people get them in that case. But sometimes they don't.
Especially as an agent too, because I feel like it helps protect you guys a lot too. So at least you did your due diligence and you told them to have a home inspection. If they choose not to, then at least you could say, hey, I told you to do that.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, at the end of the day, when the sale closes, the last thing we want is to get a call, a month down the line of something that could have been easily found on the inspection that is now going to be a big cost and they want to see what they can do about it. And in a lot of cases, there's not much. The seller's not going to pay for a problem that happened after closing. That's just the reality of it, unless you can somehow prove that they knew about it and didn't disclose it. But then, I mean, you're getting into ugly, legal battles situations there. I mean, the buyer's got to look out for their best interests, and there's a lot of ways to do that nowadays. It's obviously being the biggest one. And that's what we're here to guide people into, to really make sure they understand how important the inspections are.
It's always nice to hear from the client down the road, but sometimes when you get that call about 30 days after closing, I just cringe a little bit and answer the phone. You never know what you're going to hear. But I mean, speaking of like liability too with this COVID-19. I just feel like maybe some people are skipping home inspections. So I'm just concerned that there's going to be a lot more lawsuits. I think attorneys are going to probably make out pretty well due to this pandemic that's happening one way or the other. I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits because of the result. Maybe not even related to real estate, but I just feel like I think a lot of deals are going to go through without home inspection, and that might lead to some problems in the future.
It could. At the end of the day, I always say buying a home is a big decision. It's a big investment, and it can sometimes and usually pretty often comes with a lot of problems, a lot of errors. You can have the perfect house, and then windstorm 2 years later blows half your shingles off, and
right now
that stuff like insurance will cover, obviously. But we bought our first house, and we put $15,000 or $20,000 into it in the first 3 to 5 years, and I think that's really typical. It was a house that was built in 1927, so we knew it wasn't. We knew there was going to be some deferred maintenance.
Yeah, there always is. So
you got to kind of be ready for that, but again, you want to protect yourself so that you're not spending $15,000 the first year, because now for us at that point in our lives that would have been impossible. But that's good. So let's talk about sellers still here. Question number 2, let's say the seller didn't get a home inspection prior to listing, but now they're listed, they're under contract. What should the seller know, a day, 2 days, a week before the buyer comes in to do their home inspection? So that's the contract gets signed and the seller says, okay, now what do we do to prepare for the buyer's home inspection? As the inspector, what's the one thing you think they should know?
Yeah, no, again, that's a good question. What we typically do is once we schedule the inspection, we'll send out confirmation emails to the listing agent, the buying agent, and then the one confirmation email we send to the listing agent, we attach a list that hopefully they forward to their sellers to help them prepare for the home inspection. But I would say probably the easiest things to do that would make a big difference. Change your air filters and for your HVAC system. Make sure all your light bulbs are working, because we can't unscrew every light bulb and check all the fixtures because a lot of them are just they're inaccessible. They might be like up in a foyer somewhere. We can't reach them, or it would just kind of add too much time to our inspection. So if we just see a bulb that's not working, we'll just list it as a repair, and we'll just put most likely because the bulb's burnt out. So if they replace all their bulbs, make sure all their lights are working, make sure their air filters are clean, make sure that they're providing access to the main electrical panel, make sure there's access into the attic space, because a lot of times we'll get there and their closet's full of items and there's just really no way to get in there. Because what that does, it just makes us have to come back. It just slows down the process, so it's just easier just to provide access. And then another thing they might want to do is, like a lot of times people are preparing to move, so they'll move all their boxed items into their garage, and then that prevents us from seeing the garage, the foundation walls. And a lot of times buyers are concerned that the sellers are trying to hide something. So if they want to store items in their garage, I would say that's fine. I would just maybe pull them away from the wall, just so that we can kind of walk through and just quickly be able to tell that there's no foundational or moisture issues at all. Other than that, maybe if they wanted to take it a step further, they could check for GFCI protection, because that's always a big one. Whether it was part of the code when the house was built or not, a lot of times people just want it brought up to modern standards. So I would say currently to add GFCI protection along all your kitchen countertops, not just next to the sink, and all the electrical outlets in the bathroom should be GFCI. And again, this is for new construction. All the exterior outlets should be GFCI. All the outlets in the garage and the unfinished portion of the basement are now required to be GFCI. And then, like I said, if they wanted to do the fire separation, like the door between the garage and living space, that should be a steel door. It doesn't have to be fire rated per se, but it should at least be a steel door, or it could be a wood door, but it has to be a slab door, 1 3/8 inches thick.
Gotcha. So not like the hollow.
Yeah, it can't be the hollow one.
Yeah.
But I mean, those would be some easier things to do just to kind of prepare.
Okay, so change air filters, replace burned out light bulbs, provide access to the attic, the main panel, make sure there's access to the foundation walls in the garage and the unfinished part of the basement, and GFCI outlets in the kitchen, bathrooms, unfinished parts of the basement, garage, and the exterior.
Yeah. And if they have any paperwork, like if any improvements or repairs they've done in the past, that's always a good idea to leave it out there on the table for us to review. Because sometimes, you know, they might have had the house treated for mold in the past, you know, so that's good to see that it's been treated already. Okay. And that there's been some type of clearance certificate or some kind of testing afterward to show that it was clear. Because that sometimes that's a showstopper too. When we get up in the attic and we see a lot of mold, you know, we have to list that as a serious concern, and then that sometimes causes problems. But they may have already had it treated.
Might be already treated.
Yeah, same thing for the termites too. So if they've had termite treatments in the past, that's, I mean, as far as being an inspector, like if you look at the actual wood destroying insect report,
right,
on the second page there, it kind of goes into detail about whether, if we see any activity or evidence of any activity, whether it's been treated or not in the past, we have to list it. So then at that point, it's up to the seller to provide evidence of treatment within the past 5 years. So they need to show that even though there's activity, that they have had it treated by a licensed pest control company within the past 5 years, or if it's been over 5 years, then it's been under a maintenance agreement, you know, showing that they've had someone come out maybe once a year and treat it. So if they can provide that too, then that would prevent us from having to list that as a problem, you know.
That's good, because a lot of lenders will require, they'll want to see copies of those forms from the
yeah, right. Yeah.
If it says on there that there's evidence, then they're going to want to see the treatment and all of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears and talk about buyers. What's the one thing that every buyer should know before they even start shopping, or while they're shopping, before they go under contract?
No house is perfect. You know, we're definitely going to find items. And I think Guardian, we try to do a good job in prioritizing things so that they don't think everything we find is a major issue. Because some people just, they really don't understand problems or, you know, things with, like, for example, like a GFCI to somebody might sound like a huge problem, but really it's very common. So that's why I think it's important to prioritize the reports to let people know, you know, how important things are or not. But yeah, going into purchasing a home, unless you're buying a brand new construction or basically brand new, we're going to find issues. But I always refer to those issues as negotiating tools. I don't want them to think it's something negative. I want them to look at it as something positive. Like this, there's a problem here, but it's manageable. So I would just look at it as a tool. You know, use this to negotiate with. It can be fixed. So why not, you know, work with your agent and have them maybe reduce sales price or credit you. But at least, you know, even if they're not willing to do anything, at least as a buyer, you know what you're getting into, you know. And if it's too much for you, then yeah, back out. But at least, you know, if the seller, if it's as is or something, at least you know what you're getting into. And it may or may not be what you're looking for, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm just trying to think as far as like what else we could tell the buyer. I mean, nowadays things are different, but we'd always say, you know, if you're going to attend the inspection, that's great. You know, maybe you can follow us and we could point some things out to you, because there's a lot of things that we could tell you verbally that maybe just aren't that, or not pertinent to a home inspection report that might be useful, you know. So it's always good to kind of like follow the inspector, listen to what he has to say. And then that way we can kind of put things in perspective too. Because sometimes if you just see it on paper, it comes across differently, you know. So I think that's a good idea. And then I always tell everybody too, like a lot of times I'll have buyers ask me, if you were buying this house, or would you buy this house? You know, if this was you, would you buy this house? But that's hard for me to answer because everyone comes from a different background.
Right.
You know, some people might be looking for a fixer-upper. Some people want something that's absolutely perfect. So it all depends what you're comfortable with, you know. Like for me personally, unless there was some serious termite damage or major mold problems or foundational issues, then I might think twice. But other than that, usually everything else is pretty manageable.
Right.
You know,
those are the big things you're looking for typically.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and this might be the same answer, but what's the one thing that every buyer should know the day of the inspection?
hmm Um, pretty much the same thing, I guess. Yeah, I would say don't, if you're there, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what we're there for, I actually like look forward to that because I feel like I want to be asked. I've been doing it for like 15 years now, so I feel like I've been asked every single question, and I feel like I have an answer for them, but I'm always kind of like curious if someone's going to ask me a question I haven't heard before. So yeah, definitely ask questions. That's why we're there. I'm happy to answer questions. Um, yeah. Other than that, pretty much what I said before. Don't be surprised if we find some things, but most of it, 99% of what we find is not a big deal. It's just we're doing our due diligence. We're there to identify problems, so that's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna try to like explain it to you in a way where you're not gonna like overreact to that. Usually, it's a manageable item that can be corrected. It's a negotiating tool. Just look at it that way, But if it's serious, if it's a major structural issue, I'm definitely gonna let you know. And then anything like mold or termites, all that stuff can be serious. I don't want to get that call, in 30 days, 45 days. So yeah, I'm going to do the best job I can to try to identify things that I feel are part of my job and that are important to you or as the buyer. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, like I said, you've done that with all of our clients so far, or most of them. I mean,
Thanks.
you've helped most of my buyer clients. You've done the inspections for, so
Yeah.
you've done a great job of that. All right. So this
Thanks.
is a little bit different. What is the most interesting thing you've ever discovered in a home inspection?
I would say the craziest home inspection I ever did was down. This was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe. This was a multifamily unit. Those are always the funnest because you have the tenants in there, but this was a multifamily unit property in the South Side that was just, it was full of, I could say politically correct, but just a lot of immigrants, I think, were in there.
Okay.
So it was the worst I've ever seen as far as like the termite damage was so bad. Like the tub, the floor the tub was sitting on, the tub was sinking through the floor because of the termite damage was so bad. And then the termites, I guess, in the spring, termites swarm. So they'll buzz around the house. And these poor folks, they were just smashing them. So all along all the walls throughout the building were just smashed termites. So like blood streaks everywhere. And then down in the basement was just termite tubes just hanging down everywhere. Yeah, it was bad. We see a lot of that. These folks were just sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags. And as I was going through, they were just covering up their heads. I don't know. I assume maybe they were illegals, but yeah, that was bad. Yeah, usually it's the tenant-owned properties that are bad. Like a lot of times we'll find, if they have pets, they don't clean up after their pets.
Yeah.
So it'll be down in the basement. It's just everything's, everywhere. You'll be stepping in it. And the smell sometimes are really bad. It's strange. As a home inspector, we're in a unique position where we can see in the same day, within 24 hours, someone who's sleeping on the floor and on a mattress that has nothing, and then in the afternoon we'll go do like a $1.5 million home. It's such a dichotomy between the way folks live. So you feel like at one point you really appreciate what you have, and then another point in the afternoon you feel like, what's going on with my life? I feel like you got to go home and
charge more.
Yeah.
My price is to get one of these.
Yeah, I know. It's insane.
So did the buyer at the multifamily in Southside, did he ask you that question?
Yeah.
Hey, would you buy this house?
Oh no. Yeah, this was an investor. I thought they were going to knock it down, but they remodeled it. I don't know how they were able to salvage it. I don't know. I think they would have been better off just knocking it down and making a parking lot out of it.
It sounds like you're right about the tenant occupied. I think that ties into exactly what I was saying before. Home ownership comes with a lot of responsibility and stuff like that in terms of maintenance and just repairs and improvements. And I mean, the roof, the shingles come off the roof or the roof is caving in, that one's pretty obvious. But there's a lot of little stuff, especially with like landscaping,
Yeah.
grading, you know, the foundations. I mean, there's tenants that never even go down in their basement.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, as a homeowner, I wish I never had to go down in the basement, but like I know
Yeah.
if I go too long or if I, you know, there's always the one side of the house that you don't really ever walk on. But then like
Mhm.
when I walk over there, I'm going to find like one of the pieces of siding was ripped off and
Yeah.
wood's rotted underneath, or there's, you know, bees nest or something up inside there. And, you know, if you're a tenant and you're only there for a year, 2 years, even 3 years,
Yeah.
you don't care about that stuff.
No. Yeah. Tenants don't really care too much. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some amazing air filters. Like you pull them out, they haven't been changed in 5 years. So it's like pulling out carpeting. Like I don't know how any air is getting through there at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm hopefully I'm not that bad, but I might be one of those people
Yeah.
in that category. I might have to hire another home inspector to do my house just for the embarrassment.
No, I'll check it out.
We'd be different afterward.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't want to inspect my house right now either. Although now I've had some time to kind of do some stuff.
Yeah.
Been doing a lot of work outside. That's why I got poison ivy all over my body.
I thought those were tattoos, man.
No, this one is. This one. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's cool, man. That was all the questions that I had for you. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. Hopefully, I haven't. But again, man, we appreciate your help, and we couldn't do, you know, we wouldn't have our business without you. And our other partners who we're fortunate to have found and kind of paired up with, and that we know we can trust, because we can't do we don't do the home inspections. That's not part of our job, but it's
right.
Yeah. That we have somebody that we can recommend to our clients and trust that they're going to treat them with the same level of care that we would if we were doing it ourselves.
Sure.
So thank you, man.
No, yeah, man. I think this was great. Yeah. And I really appreciate it. And we definitely appreciate all the referrals, you know. Always try to do a good job for you and your clients for sure. So yeah, I wish you well, man. I hope we get through this successfully. I know you will. You're a go-getter. So, but yeah, if there's any time you want to do this again, or if anything I can do to help you, I'm here for you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.